Welcome. Hopefully, everyone can hear me. I am Michelle Anderson. I am the secretary for the ASGE, and I am very honored to introduce people from all four societies that put together DDW. This is going to be an exciting hour. We're going to talk about what's new for DDW, and we'll also cover what's going to stay the same. You'll hear from Dr. Lauren Lane, who is the chair of the DDW Council, as well as leaders from all four societies. So our goals over the next hour are to share the changes that are ahead so that people understand what's happening, to explain the rationale for these changes, to communicate our combined commitment to making DDW the premier GI meeting in the world, and to provide society-specific updates and information. Finally, we have left time at the end of the session to answer your questions. You will see at the bottom of your screen that you have a Q&A button. We would prefer that you put your questions in that area rather than chat, but we will take them from both places. And we will addressing questions at the end of the session rather than as we go along. So our participants today, I already mentioned Dr. Lane, who's DDW Council Chair, myself, Janice Ju, who is the AASLD DDW Program Chair, Rhonda Sousa, representing AGA Council, Liana Sidikis, who is the SSAT DDW Program Chair. We'll hear from Rajesh Kaswani, who is the ASGE DDW Video Plenary Chair. And on this meeting, we have staff from all four societies, as well as you, our webinar attendees. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Lauren Lane, DDW Council Chair, to lead off our discussion. Dr. Lane.
Well, thanks very much, Michelle. Excuse me. And thanks to ASGE and everybody for putting this program together. Really, as background, I think what I wanted to say is we wanted to develop a more attendee-centric approach rather than a society-first approach to DDW. Because really, the idea is what is the optimal process to make DDW the best possible experience for attendees? That should really be our strategic goal, if you will. So unifying the abstract submission process and the session development process seem to be things that we could do to improve the experience of attendees. So, in the future, attendees no longer will have to think about what society should I submit an abstract to. They won't have to try to look at multiple similar abstract categories in different societies. For example, if you had an abstract on Barrett's esophagus, you'll have one set of Barrett descriptors to look at rather than looking into 3 different society lists and trying to figure out where to go. And this also should improve session development because sessions will be developed by a group of experts from all societies rather than having separate programs in the same topics developed by each society on their own. So again, if we use Barrett's as an example, we'll have a multidisciplinary group of people review abstracts and choose which should be presented. And beginning next year, this group will also decide on the best topics for invited speaker sessions. So we don't have the same or very similar sessions from different societies, which is a frequent kind of complaint about DDW in the past, honestly. So again, this coordination should improve the sessions, should prevent overlapping, prevent duplicative sessions, and therefore potentially allow more sessions of other useful, relevant, non-duplicative content. So, as you see on the slide, DDW is very large and complex, and not just for first-time attendees, but for anybody because of that and because of the issues I've raised, it can be difficult to navigate. So hopefully by changing from a society first to a content first track, we will improve that experience and we'll be removing societies from the submission process, streamlining it and making it easier. And again, this hopefully, as I mentioned, should make it easier for participants to navigate both submitting and also when looking at sessions that you want to go to, during the meeting. So this is actually a big undertaking, and we've actually been talking about this for years. It takes a while to get all 4 societies to agree and move forward in this, joke about turning the Titanic so it takes quite a while. So this year, I should say, this past DDW, we've had the last 2 years, actually combined postgraduate AGA-ASGE course. So that was perhaps the first example of combining societies into one a session that would hopefully be better for attendees. This year, we've spent a lot of time and work being able to bring all the abstract descriptors together into one DDW-wide group rather than having 4 different societies, each with their own abstract descriptors. Next year, we're going to start reducing society-specific invited speaking sessions. That's not to say that they will go away completely. We'll still have some society programming. For instance, the plenary sessions, the presidential plenary for the AGA, ASGE, SSAT, ASLD will still go forward. And there still will be some visibility of societies. But again, most of the program will be based on content, not based on which society is in charge. And so over the next 3 years, we'll be slowly moving to a fully unified program. So just as an example, we streamlined the tracks and abstract submission categories. DDW had 38 categories and 443 subcategories. So again, a tremendous amount, both for the abstract submitters, but also for the different societies to try to work on together. And also it makes it really difficult to avoid overlap and duplication. So what we've done is we've actually simplified this, streamlined it to 14 different content tracks, somewhat aligned with ABIM categories that are kind of organ system based. And we'll also have science types to organize. So we'll have things, for instance, that are clinical and things that are more basic as well. And again, it will be similar to the past. We'll still have volunteers, members from all the societies reviewing and scoring abstracts, but no longer will there be an ASLD or an ASGE or AGA or SSAT abstract review committee alone. There will be abstract review committees for all of the descriptors, and these will be made up of representatives from all societies, really finding the people who are most appropriate for each descriptor. And again, obviously, those categories that have high numbers of submissions, for instance, IBD always has a lot of submissions, will have more volunteer reviewers than those that have fewer categories that have fewer submissions. And my final slide, just to kind of unveil, these are the abstract tracks. Believe it or not, there's only 14 here, but we spent a tremendous amount of time with all 4 societies going through this. And these are the 14 tracks. And then within each track, we've developed descriptors for abstract submissions as well, which I'm not going to show you now. But again, you can see a number of them are organ system based, kind of like the ABIM. So biliary, colon, esophagus, liver, pancreas, small intestine, stomach. And then there are some that are not necessarily organ system based, some things like endoscopy, surgery, some things like practice management and training and education, and then a couple of general areas that we felt were necessary, like inflammatory bowel disease, motility disorders and gut-brain interaction, and obesity and nutrition. So that's kind of the way we spent a lot of time deciding, how to consolidate this, and this is kind of what we ended up with. And again, what I will say before I finish is we're not going to get everything right the first year, but we're going to be gathering a lot of data this year based on the submissions, the attendee feedback at DDW. And then for the following year, we'll be able to modify and make course corrections on anything that we think should be changed. So again, thanks very much, Michelle and ASGE, for putting this on, and I'll turn it over to the individual societies now.
Thank you, Dr. Lane. So I'd like to introduce Dr. Janice Ju, speaking on behalf of AASLD. Dr. Ju.
Thanks, Dr. Anderson and Dr. Lane. So for the ASLD, the sessions that you'll continue to see are first the ASLD Presidential Plenary. We will still plan to have our Basic Science Emerging Topic Conference, which will span over a day and a half. And one of the newer additions to DDW and the liver meeting has been our point of care ultrasound hands-on workshops. And those have been really popular, and we're going to continue to be doing those. In the future, really the main change for us is that our state-of-the-art sessions, which historically highlight our best abstracts, are going to be programmed by the Unified Program Committee and the track leads. And so we look forward to working with the rest of the Unified Program Committee on this programming in the future, and the process to be fully unified over the years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ju. So now I'd like to introduce Dr. Doug Robertson and Dr. Rhonda Souza, representing the AGA.
Thank you, Dr. Anderson. So yeah, I'm Doug Robertson. I'm the AGA Council Chair, and I'm here with Rhonda Souza, who's one of the members of our UPC committee. I'll be doing kind of the what's the staying the same, and Rhonda's going to talk a little bit about some changes for AGA, at least as it pertains to, or the UPC, and the focus on basic abstract submissions. So again, in terms of, what Dr. Lane just said, obviously there's stuff changing with the abstracts, but the kind of the approach to invited speaker sessions hasn't changed for this year. We see that as a change for future year. So our usual kind of approaches to developing content are the same. So we've developed in AGA about 106 different clinical basic science and translational sessions that we developed through our usual processes through AGA Council, our AGA committees, and our partnering organizations. Many of the sessions that I hope some of you on the call look forward to will be back during DDW 2026, including things like the AGA Presidential Plenary Session, AGA guidelines. So we have our guideline committee, normally highlights either guidelines in development or guidelines that were recently published. AGA will again have a board review course. And again, some of our, hopefully what you see as popular invited speaker sessions, things like a day in the GI office, or these debate sessions like Battle of the Heavyweights will still all be presented this year at DDW 2026. The other thing that we wanted to highlight is that we have made efforts. We do hear these concerns about the big convention centers and how hard it is to get from event to event. So we will continue to have for this year the basic science zone. So trying to put a lot of our basic science content in a given area. And we also have a separate clinical practitioner zone where we try to keep a lot of the AGA content together. So that will be in place for 2026 as well. Other things that are going to be staying the same for us include these awards that we're mentioning. So the AGA Section Research Mentor Awards to recognize distinguished AGA mentors will be presented this year. And then our travel awards to support students, fellows, and early career abstract presenters. We know that ultimately, right, the lifeblood of future DDWs are probably people that are starting to come to the meetings today. And we know that's important to get our trainees there. And so those AGA travel awards will be in place. And then just a final shout out to the AGA Central. Hopefully you've seen that in past years. We'd like to think that's one of the places that might be a jumping off spot for your meetings. Also have other activities there. In the past, we've had meet the expert forums, things like that. We don't have the precise program, but again, there will be AGA Central again at this year's DDW. So with that, I'll turn it over to Rhonda to talk about the basic and translational abstracts.
Great. So I'm really excited about what the UPC has done looking at basic and translational abstracts and themes. So we will be showcasing in our abstract sessions, basic and translational themes. The basic and translational science descriptors are now included within 10 of the 14 tracks. So 4 of the tracks are clinical tracks only, like endoscopy and practice management. So there really is no place in there to slot these basic and translational science abstracts. And then what's really going to be interesting and intriguing to see how this falls out is that within each of these tracks, the basic and translational science abstract sessions will still be reviewed by content experts within each of these basic science individual factions. But then the committee that's going to plan all of these basic and translational abstracts will be driven by basic and translational scientists, which I think is really exciting. So give you a layout of what's going to happen when you go in to submit your abstracts. You will see the tracks as Dr. Lane was presenting. And for example, I've showed you here what it would look like in the esophagus tract. When you click on it, you'll be able to see the basic and translational descriptors, and all of your favorites that we've had in the past are going to be represented there, like mechanobiology, matrix and biometrics, omics, spatial and systems biology. They're all going to be embedded there. And then you'll have separate clinical descriptors. And then all those basic translational abstracts will be programmed by basic and translational scientists. So I think it's really going to elevate the sorts of basic science that we're going to see at DDW. And I'm really excited to see how this all shakes out. And that's it from AGA. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Rhonda and Doug. So I'm going to kick off for the ASGE. And like we've talked about in other people's presentations, I'm going to go over what's going to stay the same and what's going to change or be new. What we are keeping this year and for the foreseeable future are our Friday mini courses that people come early for, things like the artificial intelligence course. We'll still have the escape room. This is something that the fellows have really been excited about, and we will continue that for at least another year. That's obviously in the ASGE Learning Center. We'll still have our hands-on endoscopy sessions. And as Dr. Lane mentioned, ASGE will continue to have its presidential plenary this year for Dr. Amitabh Chak, our current president. Our awards will continue as well. The EQUIP and DEI awards awards that we'll talk more about in a minute. What is new and improved, and this is something that all four societies have come together to work on and agree on, is that we're going to try something new in the poster area. We're going to try something called poster hubs, where we're going to have small groups orally present their abstracts in a very short form. And that's something that we're experimenting about, just to change things up and get people interacting in ways that they might not otherwise. Our Learning Center, the ASGE Learning Center, is going to see some new improvements and updates as well. We have a new award that I'm going to go through in just a minute called the Levy Award, named after Michael Levy. And then Dr. Kaswani is going to cover what the video plenary sessions are going to look like. So in the past, when you have submitted abstracts, when you submitted something to the ASGE, you were able to designate that you wanted to be considered for an award that is homed at the ASGE. And now, because of the fact that we are putting on a unified program, that would be confusing and just cause a lot of red tape. And so what we're going to do instead is, if you are a person submitting an abstract that you want to be considered for an award, you have to go to the website that we've listed here. It'd be great to take a picture of that so you have it later, www.asge.org/awards@DDW. And when you click on that link, you will come to a page that looks identical or similar to the page on the right. We're still putting that together and taking it live. But on that page, you will see those three different awards: the Diversity Award, the Equip Award, and the Michael Levy Award. You'll fill out the form by entering who the submitting author is and whether or not you're an ASGE member, and then there'll be other things for you to designate as well, such as what your abstract number will be. So if this is something that you're interested in, my advice would be, first submit your abstract through the DDW site. That will generate an abstract number, then come to the ASGE site and fill out the request to be considered for an award. So a lot of people are not familiar with what our awards are, and so I wanted to spend a minute just talking about what those are. The first award is the Equip Award, and this is a award that's based on endoscopy quality improvement prizes. And we give out two $1,000 awards to the first author for abstracts that are relevant to quality improvement projects, and these should be led by trainees. I know a lot of doctors, especially in academic centers, are going to have trainees, and part of their fellowship program is to do a quality improvement project. And so any of those are actually eligible for this particular prize. So our Diversity Award is probably the longest standing award that we have. It's been going on since 2007, and it is to recognize outstanding research in gastrointestinal diseases affecting underserved and underrepresented populations. This is also two awards of $1,000 each, and they go to the first author whose abstracts or research address health disparities in various populations, as you can see here. I want to point out that the awards are based solely on merit and the relevance of the research to those underrepresented, underserved populations. They are not based on the submitter's race, ethnicity, gender, or other personal characteristics. So I mentioned earlier that we are now introducing a new award called the Michael Levy Endowed Training Award that came about through an endowment left to us by Michael Levy. So I think many on the call today know him, but for those who don't, Michael Levy was a dedicated educator and he had championed for advancing endoscopic ultrasound. I can honestly say that he was perhaps one of the most talented endosonographers that I have ever seen teach or do work. And he was very passionate about both things, teaching and performing EUS. So this award will be a $1,000 travel award, along with public recognition at DDW and during our awards ceremony. The stipend is intended to support travel, lodging, meal expenses, and our conference registration will be covered as well, in addition to the $1,000. This will be the selection will be by the DDW EUS subcommittee. So whoever in that committee that is making it up will nominate abstracts, but the final selection will be made by our ASGE Special Interest Group, or SIG. So now I'd like to introduce Dr. Raj Kaswani, who will be talking about the ASGE video forums. He is the current chair of the video plenary committee.
Thanks, Michelle, and thanks for allowing us to sort of highlight a small but important part of what we have traditionally done at DDW. So it's helpful to understand that videos are still a very important submission type to DDW. As gastroenterologists, endoscopy is a large part of our practice, and we want to make this still a forum people come to also watch the newest endoscopic techniques on video. So we want to obviously remain a top destination for disseminating endoscopic education through use of videos. And these videos will still be submitted, and select videos will still have a very tight integration with the ASGE journal Video GIE for sort of direct entry into that to be considered for peer review and publication. But we want to, even though we are not quite under the umbrella of a lot of these changes you're seeing, we want to at least embrace a lot of that spirit and use this as an opportunity to improve the process for people interested in submitting videos for DDW. We want to also reduce the number. I have reduced the number of descriptors because it was getting redundant, and we find people trying to submit to certain descriptors because they think it'll be easier to get into DDW with one descriptor versus another. We want to discourage that kind of behavior. We continue to make sessions more interactive. As you all know, videos are very easily accessible on your phones all day now. So we need to figure out how to get people to sit in a seat and watch videos when they could be doing that at home. And so making the sessions more and more interactive. We want to make sure our room sizes are more appropriate for audience, and that really helps with this overall UPC mission where we can identify rooms that really fit the audience that's going to come to watch those videos. And again, along the theme of what you've heard today, we want to be very, very respectful of our reviewers, right? There's no reason, as mentioned before, someone should have to look at an abstract on Barrett's esophagus in an AGA session and ASGE session and SSAT session. We want to understand that the reviewers who are looking at these videos have limited amount of time. They're donating their time, and so we want to make that review process more efficient. And so we're going to continue to work on that again along the spirit of what the UPC is doing. So hopefully these changes are reflected in how the audience feels when we meet again in May of 2026.
Thank you, Raj. So now I'd like to introduce Dr. Liana Tsikidis. I'm sure I'm messing that up. I'm sorry, Liana.
No, Michelle, it's great. You're saying it like a true Greek. So my name is Liana Tsikidis. I am the program chair for the SSAT for the upcoming DDW meeting in 2026. There are some very exciting changes. We are very excited to partner with all the GI societies in these unified abstract-based sessions. A couple of things, though, that I want to point out as they are new for the surgeons and the surgical trainees that will be submitting their abstracts, that they are key, and in order for us to capture them appropriately and be reviewed by surgeon reviewers familiar with the topic, and the same goes for the video submissions as well. So when one submits their abstract from either a surgical trainee or a surgeon, it's extremely important when they choose the category to choose the general category that best reflect their work. So I am a colorectal surgeon. I'm submitting an abstract under colorectal surgery. I will choose the colon category. However, my subcategory should not be necessarily surgery. If my topic, let's say, is on the microbiome research that I've done on colon cancer, we should find the actual descriptor subcategory that best describes the work. What is very important here is there is going to be another asterisk within that very first page on the submission that asks about abstract content. It's critical there for the surgical trainees and the surgeons to say, yes, that this is a surgical related abstract, so it can be reviewed by the surgeons within the unified committees. And also for us to be able eventually continue with the awards programs we have for our surgical trainees. This will be a filter for our team to be able to evaluate those abstracts. So it's extremely important where it says abstract content, if it's related to surgery, please hit yes. Also very critical will be, please note your career stage. So we know you are a trainee versus faculty, and that way also we'll be able to choose awards for our surgical trainees. So with that, what's staying the same? Our resident and fellows research conference will stay the same because we have those filters and we can continue on Saturday, always the first day. We have that conference that it's usually most of the day, and we give awards out to our surgical trainees. All our named lectureships as of this year will stay the same. Very exciting part of our meeting is our combined symposia with other surgical societies. For example, SSAT with the Surgical Society of Surgical Oncology may bring whatever is latest in oncologic surgery. Those symposia are going to continue for the year of 2026. Our presidential plenary, and as I mentioned, all named and trainee awards. What's new and improved will be the integrated abstract-based sessions according to anatomic and disease track categories, our video plenary sessions, and we're looking forward to work with our colleagues from ASGE, and the poster hubs that we did not have in the past, showcasing the best posters in the meeting of DDW. And with that, I'm going to say thank you, and I'm really looking forward to this meeting.
Great. So I know we've covered a lot. I appreciate everybody's time and effort in joining us this evening, and we are happy to take questions. Please place those in the Q&A session or section below, and we will take those as they come in. We must have been very clear because there's no questions in the Q&A.
I was just going to ask, Dr. Keswani didn't mention that all the ASU videos will be in IMAX this year, did he?
Yeah, we'll put that in the budget.
Okay.
We can't pay the union dues for that in Chicago.
That is 100% true. So I do have a question. The abstract site opened today, right? I think it was supposed to open today.
Yes.
Great. Yeah, so that's news as well. If you're watching this now, you can submit your science early and help us with the new process and give us feedback. Like Dr. Lane said, we know that we're going to have bumps in the road and we may run into trouble, but feel free to reach out to DDWA and we will help people try to work through submitting everything. Well, I still don't see any questions. So maybe I will give people back a half an hour of their time this evening and thank everyone for being here. Dr. Lane, any closing comments?
No, actually, again, I want to thank you for setting this up. I think it was great to bring us all together, and hopefully those interested in DDW, got a good look at the changes that we'll be doing this year and the coming years.
Yeah, we're going to post this on our website, and I think some of the other societies are going to do the same thing, so we can point people to that when they have questions as well. Thank you, everyone, for joining this evening.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Take care.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.